Hey guys, this is just for the test. I'm not doing it for the fun of it, but I just wanted to check whether my camera skills are much better. I just did some jugaad and I'm just working here. So let me just explain something about RabbitMQ. RabbitMQ is one such protocol where it's an advanced message stream protocol where there'll be a producer and there'll be an exchange and there'll be a queue, and this queue, an exchange and a producer. So once this goes into the client. So the client, it can be basically a web hosted server or anything that you have really desire to do. This client is so simple that is just a front end interface that is just running over the course of time. So what happens now? So what if you're a multi-million dollar company? So through an exchange there are different queues. Through different queues there'll be different messages sent, and there'll be a routing key which will be given at any given point of time. So let me just go on to explain you what is this all about. RabbitMQ will be that one protocol which actually gives you that worker node and absolute functionality of what these functions of that needs to flow inside the entire infrastructure. You need not have to worry about anything about saying like, okay, what if my message gets lost? What if there's a lot of scalability issues? So here you are. So you have a producer here, there's an exchange here, there's a queue here, there's a client here who is basically a consumer. So now, when you talk of structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, all these protocols are involved over the course of time. So exchange sends the message to a queue, then it receives in a client processes it. So now that is done. So then what? This entire queue list comes into the picture. Then what? The processing needs to happen only with one client. So now he is prone to undergo any sort of changes that he can go. Like there can be hundreds of messages that flows throughout this process, and you can never get to know. So there are something called as bindings and binding key. So when there is a key which is involved, so it's an encryption model that is working. So there's routing key. The routing key just flows the data through the particular queue. There'll be a queue list, there'll be an ID which will be given. So every message first flows through the exchange itself. So it's it. So if you're an EC person, you should be knowing the fan in and the fan out mechanism that you will be actually seeing. So fan in and the fan out mechanism is basically that one mechanism which says the number of queues. The queues is something which is more important here at any given point of time. There are lists and lists of messages which comes in. So when you think of, I'll say you one thing, wait, I'll share a link here in the description so that functions queue Azure. So queue is basically that trigger. So you guys can just go here, just get to know what is this all about. This is actually that one entity that you should be looking upon at every given point of time about what is that actual complexity which is involved in entire architecture. So basically this is what happens, and now this queue function is to direct all the messages that you receive. So when it's directing, there are binding keys, and these will act as a routing keys. So every key from the producer, the binding key is equals to the routing key. So routing is always there at every point. So there are headers which says, okay, this message has to be received through this queue. So exchange is basically that one function which has all the headers and it does all the function. So this is how your RabbitMQ works at every given point of time. And also, it's not something like only this one. So let me just clear the sheet and use it once again, because this is an thing that I really wanted. So let me just draw a new one. So there is a producer, an exchange. Let me just say there are 3 Qs. Queue. Yes. Queue. Queue. So when there's a queue here, let me just give you one more scenario. You are a company which has multiple customers here. So when you're a producer, you have an exchange here. So these two talk. All the binding key, routing key, and all the message headers, everything just flows in. But you are dealing with 3 other different companies. So client 1, I hope it is visible. Client 2, client 3. So at any given point of time, you are bound to deliver them the function, and basically what your architecture is like, you can just flow in the data and you need not have to worry saying that, okay, what about that next move that I'm supposed to be doing? You can just send it a message through an exchange and it just flows in. So you need not have to worry about like what's that latency that is going to be. It's still going to be the same. The binding, the routing keys, everything gets processed in the exchange and the message flows in, the message flows to the client. The same philosophy that RabbitMQ was built for is pursued. So let me just give you one brief intro on every component that I've listed here and about it. So a producer is the one who thinks and drops message to an exchange. So exchange is one where you need to really take your concerns upon. So a consumer or a client is basically the one who processes the data. So there are ELK stuff which pops up. So if you think of something like ETL pipelines which are involved over the course of time, so this is where things go worse. So you need to know where to process, you need to know where to really give that data up. And there are different pipelines for processing. There are machine learning ops, ML ops, everything given. So let me just give you a quick intro on what is this actually doing. So binding keys is there, it gets decoded and done. So now, so let me just say one thing. So exchange types are in plenty. It's there. Exchange type. Fan in, fan out. You know, if you are an EC person, you know number of fan ins and the number of fan outs in an IC, like inputs, outputs. You know, for a mux it's 2. And the select lines, so 4, and there'll be 1 select line. So whenever the input you give, so this is where fan in and the fan out comes into the picture. And these functionalities are also available for your entire architecture. So you need not have to worry like, okay, what is going wrong, what is not going wrong. And moreover, so there are ways in which your exchange has to happen. So exchange can be encrypted, decrypted, but it's a regular exchange. That is like data in, data out. So it will be nameless, where if you give a list of headers to it, it just flows through this queue listed. And if you have triggers through your architecture received through the client, processes it. I can actually give you another example where Azure Functions has something called as blob storage trigger, where anything just goes into the blob storage. Will trigger a function in such a way that this function needs to happen if there is one. So queue triggering, what I said, is where if a kind of a message pops up saying that in the push method, if the client gives some data, let me just say A, do the work of A. So this is how things are. So this is where RabbitMQ gives you that leverage. When I say some architecture like something which is very based on a structured one, let me just say a ticket dispenser, somewhere like a vending machine or something, when you go for the PVR as a system. So when you are doing an online infrastructure, so online is just going to be that one thing. So PVRs are going to be here. So yes, no, basically I can show you one thing. I think I'll end this simple stream. Simple stream is actually my own mobile, which is recording at one point of time. Mashallah, it works so cool. And thank you so much, folks. I'll show you the screen of RabbitMQ, which is like this. So RabbitMQ admin window, where are you? I want you to pop up. Oh my God. Fine. Oh yes. RabbitMQ admin. And so yes, so this is where your RabbitMQ comes into the picture, and there are a lot of things happening. So host, name, the amount of triggers, and everything just pops up. So in the next series, we'll be doing everything about RabbitMQ, and stay tuned, folks. A lot of things coming up, regarding your architecture, and nothing less, nothing more. Next part of the video, I'll be streaming something on a Netflix architecture, so do watch it, don't miss it out. And the broadcast